Hey guys, welcome back to Vanishing Gates. As always, I'm your host Jay with my co-host
Jack.
And tonight we're going to go right into some cool stories about, we're going to talk about shadow people, and we're going to talk about something even creepier than shadow people, because I think shadow people is a pretty broadly experienced phenomenon. I myself had plenty of encounters and sightings of these particular things. What about you there, Jack? Nothing?
No, I'm perfectly normal. I've never had this kind of an issue before.
Yeah, I've never done drugs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, are you sure?
Yeah,
She's shadow people.
I've never done drugs. Caffeine, booze, cigars. That's an oxygen. Oh, protein shakes, because I gotta get swole.
It's probably the. Did you just say get swole?
I did. I said get swole.
That's a thing that just happened to us all.
Yeah, what happened? Enjoy. Swole. Hashtag Jay is swole.
I don't think that's what we're gonna do.
No,
we're not gonna
do that. Okay, but anyway, before we get into all that cool stuff. Oh wait, the other thing I was going to talk about. So let's scan that back a little bit. Is the second part of the show? We want to talk about something very creepy and a phenomenon you hear about on the internet a lot, in creepypastas, in a lot of subreddits and things, and just all over the place. Not just like a fake story, but
It said 13-year-old girls on Dr. Phil because that's always a bad sign.
don't cash them outside. That's all I know.
I'm worried about.
We're going to talk about something even creepier, and I'm not going to say what it is yet, but we'll get there. So let's talk about.
Sounds creepy to me.
We should start this over.
No, we shouldn't.
We should start this.
No, I like this.
All right, good. He likes it. So we're going to go into cigar of the day. Tonight, Jack's feeling a little better. I guess his penicillin has been working. So
that's right.
He's actually going to join me in cigar of the day. We're smoking Partagas Extra Fuerte. That one I can actually say. And these are a delicious cigar.
It's a good cigar, yeah. It's nice and smooth.
Oh, yeah.
Does not hurt your tongue. Maybe that's because I also didn't burn it this time.
That's why you use 2 matches and not 5.
I use 1 normally. Give me a break.
That's why you burn unevenly.
I am not a noob.
Anyhow, so let's go on to the show here. So shadow people. Human-like forms seen usually out of a person's peripheral vision. So you kind of catch that glimpse of someone out of the corner of your eye.
So couldn't that just simply be your brain playing tricks on you?
It could, but it's not. I'm certain of this. I'm sure sometimes it is. Now, there's a lot of things about it. And there's a website. There's actually a website dedicated to shadow people. I'm sure there's more, but shadowpeople.org is a website.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's
And
a
check
lot
it
of
out.
sightings, right? So, I mean, it's
tons
not
of
like
sightings.
one
Like
or
I
two
said,
people saw it.
I've seen it. I've seen it with another person, with multiple people seeing the same exact thing. We have seen this happen. So it's not, people don't usually hallucinate in unison.
It wasn't a shadow person, but I did see, I don't know if I told the story on the hidden episode that we're never probably going to wind up airing, but the story about my father-in-law and me seeing something rising up out of the road that looked kind of like a deer or a dog, and then running off to the side. I'm not sure if I talked about it in one of the aired episodes.
I think you did on the hidden episode, the Lost episode.
Yeah, I don't think I did on the Bigfoot one. I would have on that one.
No, it was on the Lost episode.
Yeah, so, the Lost
I know
episode.
We're teasing these guys with this Lost episode.
It's garbage. It's hot garbage, and we
if you thought the first one was bad, oh man, that was a step in the right direction.
Yeah, we're not gonna go back down that road.
Yeah. So no, go ahead and tell the story though.
Well, I just did.
That was it?
That something rose up out like a creature, a dark shape that looked either like a deer or a giant greyhound dog. It looked like emaciated. Like I had enough descriptive of it that I can remember that it looked kind of emaciated, and it was just dark, like a shadow.
It was it all black? Like there's
no color.
That would be kind of
like even the eyes. Like even the eyes would have shined, but there was no shine.
There was no shine. Just a black outline.
Yeah, just a black outline of
black stuff. Okay,
and my father-in-law saw it, and he watched it with me rise out of the middle of the road, and then vanish before it even hit the side of the road. It was just gone.
See, that could have been a deer laying down and just didn't turn his head to your car either, but I doubt it was a
skinwalker.
Yona Glanchi is actually apparently how you say that. I was saying it totally wrong. Yona Glanchi.
Who taught you this one?
I'm not going to cite my source. I'll give you a hint. Mystery Science Theater did an episode of it. And he's related to Charlie Sheen. Okay, so, yeah, but that's kind of the same thing. Like, I'll get into some of my personal encounters later because I had a few. And a lot of them were with other people at the same time because of a place I was living had a lot of weird activity. Like a ton of weird activity. Not just shadow people, but all sorts of weird stuff.
One, real quick. People, you were hearing a ding. That is my tablet. I'm about to turn it on to silent.
They don't care.
That was absolutely
If they expect us to be that professional, they aren't following us. Now, Wikipedia Says, also known as shadow figures, shadow being, and black mask for some reason. I'm not showing that black mask thing, guys. It's just Wikipedia again. Again, a humanoid figure, particularly interpreted as a spirit or entity. Now, there are some possible scientific reasons for this, and some of them are sleep deprivation, paranoia, tricks of the eye. Now...
Wait, are you getting into other reasons? Because I have a few that I think I've read about.
Okay, go for it.
Like, some people think they could be a trans-dimensional being that's just simply trapped between different
Well, I was talking
universes
about
or
just
existences.
plain true science, not hypothetical science. Now, I'm not knocking hypothetical science. All of the idea of physics are pretty much just like two kinds of physics. There's regular physics and there's theoretic physics. They're theoretical because you can't fucking prove them.
Well, isn't it a common saying amongst most scientists that any scientist who can say that I can define anything as a fact means that I've disproven myself?
Yeah, but think about how many of those same guys try to define things as a fact. Not knocking the scientific community, guys. I'm not against it.
You've got brains, whereas we could talk. That's
I really enjoy listening to science talks and stuff. It doesn't sound like it, but I really appreciate physics. I've done a lot of mechanical work and stuff in my lifetime, and I studied martial arts for a long time. Physics are very important.
We respect. we do respect the people who do that, because the thing is they can find things that literally we would never in our fucking lives interpret or try.
Let me break it down what I mean like this. You talked about interdimensional beings. Okay, here's the difference. So regular physics, like, we'll go small education. We'll call it small education versus large education physics, because that's just terrible and it makes somebody sound terrible, and we're just here to piss people off.
That's our job
at this point. No, but so you're talking about interdimensional beings. Okay, the physics I'm talking about, the normal, you push something, like if you get punched in the face, it's gonna fucking hurt.
Yeah.
The other physics say, hypothetically, if you get punched in the face, it might pass through you into another dimension. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So, I was talking about the regular scientific things that I've seen. There's also people that use drugs that see this a lot. Go figure. People using drugs tend to hallucinate. Again, I've never used drugs, like hard drugs, in my life. I've never even smoked the reefer.
Yeah.
And I live in the reefer capital of the world.
I think that's the oddest thing that we can both claim, is that
we've never smoked the reefer.
And we've never touched drugs or that. That's the kind of thing.
Okay, hold on. We do the most addictive drug in the world, caffeine and sugar.
Yeah.
By far more addictive than reefer.
I'm addicted to sodas and video games.
Let me tell you something. I've never seen a guy smoke a joint and shoot up a school, you know what I mean? I've seen plenty of guys do an 8-ball and try to fight a crowd of people and a bunch of cops. I've literally watched men smoke crack
successful.
in public locally. So, and those guys just think they're Superman after that. I know it was. I shouldn't try that.
All of these people are not involved with shadow people, though. This is just simply a
well, you don't know. They
background story.
Maybe the shadow people got them really hooked on this stuff. So anyway, shadow people. Now, there's stories about shadow people going back forever, but when it really came to light was on the show Coast to Coast AM, which I listened to emphatically shortly after this episode aired. I didn't actually hear this episode because I didn't get turned on to Coast till a couple of years later. But basically, Art Bell was hosting the show, and the subject on April 12th, 2001 is when it really sprung up. He was interviewing Thunder Strikes, a First Nation elder and founder of the Deer Tribe Medicine Society. Now, during that episode, the two talked for quite a while on the matter and encouraged listeners to send in drawings of their experiences. No one would have guessed just how many people had these encounters, because at the time, nobody really talked about it. It's one of those things where you see it and you don't really there's a couple where I've been standing next to someone and he'll see it and I'll see it, and then he'll be like, did you see something? And I wouldn't even have thought about it, but I'll realize, oh, no, I did. Yeah, that shadow thing over there. Yeah, no, I totally saw that. And this has happened on multiple occasions. Now,
this is not to be confused with like I said, with tricks of the eye, because you can tell when something's a trick of the eye.
You can tell when you see something move 10 or 15 feet pretty slowly, and you're watching it. There was another show that I like to listen to, another podcast, and the guy was talking about being in a place and having a shadow. They were doing an investigation, a paranormal investigation, and they were doing EVP work in this little room, in this little hole-in-the-wall thing, and a guy they saw the guy come in, but there was no lights, and the guy sat in the corner away from them in the room, and they basically said, hey, we're going to do some EVP work, so just, don't make any noise. And there was no response. And then when they finally showed their light over there, it wasn't even there. Like, there was nobody there. But they could see it, and they had talked to it at length, and it never said anything. And they just thought it was another person because it was that clear a presence. And I've seen things like this. Now, back in the day, I used to live in a building, and I know everybody lives in buildings for the most part in America.
What is this ridiculousness I hear?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. What it was is I used to live in a church. I was like the church mouse. I did a lot of extensive work there. I was actually involved in the church at that point.
Do mice do extensive amount of work in churches?
Most mice tend to gnaw on wiring and eat scraps,
but
the reference is someone that's usually quiet and involved. But so I lived there, and all the time things would happen in this building. There would be, during services, you'd hear your name called out. And we can go into all sorts of different stories.
I've been to that church.
Yeah, you have. And shadow people were all over the place. And it was usually when the lights were off and I was alone. But a lot of the time, it would be in broad daylight, in the room lit, with other people there.
What? That church was so creepy.
Well, the building was left empty for a while, and a lot of weird things did happen there. I mean, there was some odd stuff. Where the baptismal was, behind the pulpit, there was marks like candle wax. Like someone had used it for some kind of ritualistic thing while it was empty. And after talking to some tweakers and stuff, I found out that yes, indeed, there were people going in there when it was abandoned for a couple of years and using it for their little things. Now, again, these are tweakers I talked to, so take that. But I do know that we tried to remove these wax stains for years. The entire time we were there at the church, we painted over them, we cut out the section of sheetrock, and it came back every freaking time. And it was weird.
Do you think that had to do with shadow people?
I don't know, but I mean, the thing is, and we'll get into what we think shadow people are at some point, but I think it's a presence. Like, I'm not going to say it's a human ghost. I think it's another being. I don't know what kind, and I think that where energy is of any kind, things can happen.
I think the thing, my opinion on shadow people is just that it's a trick of the eye. I honestly think that. I think it's either a trick of light or a trick of the eye mixed with it.
This isn't someone looking in the woods 30 feet away and seeing an uprooted tree and taking a picture and thinking it's fucking Sasquatch. This is me having seen these things for extended periods of time, and not just out of the corner of my eye.
Let me put it like this.
It's just usually out of the corner of your eye.
When I am dead tired, I see things moving around, and I know I'm dead tired because as soon as I wake up, those things are gone. I never see it again until I get tired again, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing them. And so maybe if they do exist, maybe the problem is that they trip the veil a little bit. Only when you're when you're tired, your mind is. They say you're like this halfway state.
Because I've seen it like full awake. Well, maybe that halfway state that you're talking about for most people, because when most people see him, some people have a lot of paranormal experiences, or supernatural experiences anyway, and some people don't have any or very many at all, or they wouldn't even notice it.
Well, it's like it goes back to what I was saying about the, like when I was talking about the voodoo thing. I'm pretty sure, I swear to God, that I got that from the Skeleton Key. I swear. I think I did. So you mentioned that movie, and I think I did see it, and that's why I fucking forgot.
I maintain it was a terrible movie.
And so I think that's where I got my idea of what voodoo is, except for I read a book about voodoo when I was younger.
I thought that was hoodoo in that movie.
It might have been hoodoo.
But the whole thing with voodoo, there is that thing. I do think that there is that caveat that you have to convince them to believe
And I think the reason for that is because I remember reading a book about someone who practiced voodoo, and they were trying to curse someone, and I swear I got it from that. And the thing is when I say things, I have a shitty memory. You have to realize, unless I've written it down and I'm reading it to you and telling you I have the note right here, I've vetted it, I'm probably getting it from a fucking movie half the time.
All right, so let's bring it back to shadow.
Don't take Jack too fucking seriously. Jay here is the brains of the operation. I'm here because
that's a scary thought.
I'm just really good at talking a lot, and that's what I do is I talk.
All right, so now shadow people. Again, let's go back to that because that's the current topic of this part of the show, this segment. Man, I'm telling you, there are a ton. You can go online and find countless stories, and most of you probably have experiences. And if you do, and here's where we pimp out our email address, please email us at
vanishinggates@gmail.com. That's 2 G's in Vanishing Gates.
Yeah, that. And also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, because now we have a Facebook page up.
We sure do.
We actually have had one since
Send
before
us
this episode.
your stories because we'd really love to read them. We're open-minded about things. Don't take us like we're gonna mock or anything. We're not. That's not what we intend to do. When we, for instance, if you want to be on our show, contact us because we really want you on. We're not going to make fun of you. That's not what we do. That's not who we are.
We are.
If you're like blatantly screwing around and we know you're freaking around with us, then we're going to screw with you. That's what we're going to do.
Edit yourself and say freaking?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I'm trying to hold myself a little bit accountable.
We're not professionally. When we have sponsors, we can start censoring ourselves fucking professionally. Anyway, so, yeah. So, I was saying, shadow people. Lots of them. People see them all the time. But there's something else to be talked about with shadow people. Now, there's another shadow entity that people talk about, the Hat Man.
I've never heard of this one.
Okay. It's a shadow person wearing a fedora. Swear to God, if you guys try and fucking tell me it's a Tribly, I'm gonna reach in through Reddit and punch you in your brony, neck-bearded, loving motherfucking face.
Is it yellow, and does he have a monkey?
No, it's not. It's not that. The man in the yellow hat. It's the Hat Man.
I thought this was going to be a more pleasant conversation.
He's usually just seen as a upper body apparition, floating menacingly, but sometimes he can be full body. It's important to note there is zero mention of a neckbeard, a katana, ponies, rampant atheism, or greeting women with "milady." Don't let that fool you, okay?
I'm confused. Just go to a tangent about people who proclaim that they are of the atheistic.
No, it was just the whole... Dude, I posted a picture of a dude wearing a fucking fedora, and I had 5 motherfuckers tell me, no, dude, that's a Tribly.
What is a Tribly?
It's a fucking hat. It's a fedora with a shorter brim. And these motherfuckers... First of all, a fedora is a woman's hat, and when you see these guys wearing fedoras, are usually on plentyoffish.com or cringe channels, there's these big, greasy motherfuckers with neck beards who talk about atheism and feminism. They always look like they just bought fucking Asian weapons online.
I'm gonna level this. I love Asian weapons and anime, and I have a neck beard, and so now I'm also being insulted in this shit.
Yeah, you're not wearing a Tribly and you don't talk to women. Milady.
Oh, I almost have a mustache. Well, you almost have eyebrows, okay?
They're blonde. Give me a break.
The shadow people came and took your eyebrows. That's what happened.
Yeah, that could be a whole other podcast.
Shadow people stopped me from growing a mustache.
Where did Jay's eyebrows go? So, yeah, I do have eyebrows. They're just blonde, guys. He's an asshole.
I do have a mustache. It's just blonde. He's an asshole, too.
I called him an asshole a couple episodes ago. I referred to him as Fat Logan, Old Man Logan. All right, bringing it back, though. The Hat Man seems to thrive on dysfunction. Interestingly... Man.
It's a Trembly.
Oh, God. Okay, maybe he would correct me on his hat. Interestingly, it sounds a lot like demonic activity. Like, in a lot of demonic activity, they happen in households where there's a lot of infighting, there's spousal abuse. Someone's really a bad substance abuser. The house is usually full of clutter, tons of drug use. And when a person in the house starts to see him, other people in the house start to see him too, usually. Not always, but usually. And again, not everyone fits under those parameters, but from what I've been reading, that's the most often you hear about it.
Well, I think it's also, once again, like we talked about in a previous episode, it's power of suggestion.
I don't know.
I believe it to be power of suggestion.
No, because some of these people don't tell... You don't tell people about... Because a lot of the time you see the Hat Man, it's during a night terror, which is the next part of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into that in a second. But
Yeah, most people think about Hat Man when they have experience. He gives the impression that he's like a higher-ranking shadow person, a more menacing figure. And sometimes he'll be followed by regular old shadow figures.
You know what? I mean, here's the thing.
Or shadow men. I don't know if there's shadow women.
I don't understand why these creatures would go about doing this. I mean, it wouldn't make sense if they were living creatures, or they were undead creatures, or they were just, trans-dimensional beings who are trapped in between worlds or universes or whatever. The thing is why do shadow people exist is the question, in my opinion. Like, that's the real question. What do they want? Why do they exist? Why do they show up? And why would they have a shepherd with a big fucking, or like, I guess a smaller hat?
No, a fedora is larger brimmed, but not. It's not like a 5-gallon hat.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Is what
10-gallon hat?
I understand. That's not what I meant necessarily. Just why Like, is this like a rank thing? Like, do you get a bigger hat the more shadow people you seem to get around you? Or does he show up when there are shadow people in a house and he take them maybe? Like, what if he's a shepherd of shadow people?
Maybe it's
and
like,
he just, like,
every time a bell rings,
pulls
an
them out.
angel gets his wings, and every time a shadow person fucks somebody's life up, they get a fedora.
A trembly.
They don't wear triblies.
A
You don't know what a tribly is.
Trembly.
It's always spelled tribly.
I thought you said triblet first. I was like, is this a Star Trek reference?
Oh, the trouble with triblies.
Are we about to get it?
The trouble with triblies.
That's this episode's new title, Trouble with Triblies.
No, it's not. I'm not going to do that. Oh, man. All right. Now,
We're off the rails every 3 seconds.
now for the next part of the next segment, we want to talk about something that's also often...
This is a smooth cigar, I'm going to say
It's
that
a
again.
delicious fucking
it's a
cigar.
really good cigar.
It really is. Now, the next part of this is a lot of people that experience shadow figures, and the Hat Man, especially the Hat Man, it seems, is a very deep correlation to this. Is people that have sleep paralysis.
It's so common.
Back in the day, though, it was called hagging or old hag syndrome.
It's because they... wasn't it
Because back in the day, they'd have the same situation go on where you're laying in bed and suddenly you can't breathe very well, your heart quickens, you're awake but you can't move. You see everything around you, but you're paralyzed. You can't speak. And then all of a sudden there's these figures in the room, and you have a really hard time breathing. Now, back in the day...
the vast majority of people saw a hag.
Well, no, that was because in older times, because hagging, this situation had been going on in history for a very long time. It goes back to old Europe and stuff. And
Well, the sleep paralysis wouldn't be a new thing. I mean,
it's not a new thing. That's the point. Is the sleep paralysis then was they would experience the whole exact same thing as the Hat Man or the Shadow people. Some people see aliens and believe they're being abducted, but it's always the same story with a little bit different bad guy there. And what happens is, a lot of the times back then, they would see, because, witches were really a big thing for a long time. They were the most horrible thing you could come across for most of the time. Yeah,
Well,
witches. And so what you'd see is this old woman would come and press
argument.
down on your chest until you couldn't breathe, or until you could grasp out and finally make a noise, and then it would be gone, and you'd wake up in a sweaty pallor, and you'd be just fucked up, man. And I do experience sleep paralysis occasionally.
You know what's funny about the Mandela effect, real quick?
What?
And this particular conversation is
Why are you bringing up the Mandela effect?
It makes me think of the Mandela effect, because I just thought of something before I completely forget. Was the fact that, like, with the Salem witch trials, people keep believing that we killed hundreds of people in the Salem witch trials, but I think it was, like 2 people?
No one ever got burned in the stake. People did get executed, but it was very seldom in the Salem witch trials. And it's just it's people are just re-perpetuating this bullshit story of witches being really badly persecuted in America, which they were persecuted pretty bad, but nothing like the Spanish Inquisition, which even was...
No one expected that, so...
No one expects a Spanish Inquisition. We'll hit them in the comfy chairs. No one is going to get that reference anywhere near our age group. It's all going to be... And if we have older listeners, they might understand. Guys, that's a Monty Python joke. Mm-hmm. If you don't know who Monty Python is...
you need to upgrade your life.
Pause this episode, find Monty Python, watch any Monty Python, and then come back to us, finish the episode. When you're done, watch all of the Monty Python you can find.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I suggest The Life of Brian,
Still love John Cleese.
The Holy Grail, and The Meaning of Life. And sometimes, and now for something completely different.
Back to shadow people.
All right, so, and now for something back to we were talking about hagging. Sleep paralysis. So I've had these experiences myself. The first one I ever remember having, laying in bed, and this is going to sound funny, but it's the same exact thing. I was half awake and half asleep. But all of a sudden I was up and moving around. And there was someone sitting in the corner, and I tripped over a chicken, and when I tripped, I felt a sudden shock, and I woke up. And I was in my bed, and nothing was going on.
You tripped over a chicken.
A chicken.
A chicken.
Well,
at least it woke you up.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
I was
Wait,
younger
was it a
then.
rooster?
I've had it quite a few times.
Or just a chicken?
I think it was just a chicken. I didn't really tell.
Well,
it could have been a shadow chicken.
It was a shadow chicken.
I don't know. It looked too much like a regular chicken to be a shadow chicken. But
Well.
again, an old hag doesn't look like a shadow person either.
Well, you have to wonder.
And
Maybe
aliens, it's usually people see grays or they dream of owls when they have the situation too. And that's why owls are correlated with aliens a lot when it comes to supposed abductions or abductions. Not if you've been abducted by aliens, please let us know. If you guys have these experiences, please email us at vanishinggates@gmail.com because we want to hear your stories. And if you have a good, compelling one and you want to come on the show and you're local, that'd be awesome because we haven't set up phone lines for calls yet.
Yeah, we haven't got nothing going yet.
Yeah, not yet. But so I've had a few. I had one a few months ago where I was laying in bed and I felt this ominous presence, and that's a big thing of it too. A lot of these are ominous presence situations. And I was laying down and I could see to the side of my bed, and then my oldest child was standing there, but it wasn't her. And she said something with a different voice, and then it struck me, and I felt it, and it pushed me out of my sleep. And I could feel the burn of my face still, it felt like. And I could still feel this. And I had a weird feeling before I went to bed. Well, I'm going to get into exactly what's happening with me because I know it's different than what happens with some people.
Well, I was going to say, I've always said that I have never had an experience with anything happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lie. I remember now. I do remember one thing. I was having, it was right after one of our aunts passed away. And I was laying on the couch. And I was sick and I wasn't feeling good. And I fell asleep on the couch. I felt something really hot and painful go across my back in my sleep, and I didn't wake up. And I'd been having a nightmare, I think. I don't know what it was, but I woke up the next day, and I asked my wife, she got back from work, and I asked her, I said, could you look at my back? And she's like, why? I'm like, something hurts. And I pulled up my shirt, and I had 3 long scratch marks going down my back. And she's like, where did this come from? And I'm like, I can't reach there, and I was the only person here all day.
That's a really good way to, divert the fact that you're having an affair.
Probably.
Put it out on the podcast that a demon attacked you in your sleep.
And the weirdest fucking sex ever. Weird scratch marks straight up my back from my lower back.
Yeah, no, that's not weird.
I'm a little too tall for that.
I'm slightly shorter than you, and no, it's not weird. That's a pretty common occurrence.
Anyways, the point is that I wound up having I had
demons.
3 scratch marks going down my
I
back.
thought you were going to say threesome.
No, I had 3 scratch marks going down my back, and they burned. I didn't know what, they burned for a little while afterwards. I didn't know what the hell happened.
Huh.
But it was a place that you used to stay.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, it was definitely strange. I don't know.
Anyhow,
I think it's because I pissed whatever. There's something that lives in our house that's not bad. It doesn't do it. It doesn't affect us in any way. It's not rude. It once helped me get a fucking can of grease that I needed.
I never got that impression at all.
Yeah, it's never bothered me, but I think I might have done something that upset it that day because it fucking scratched me, and I was like, ow.
Okay, so
I felt it in my sleep, for God's sake.
Basically with the sleep paralysis. Like I said, I've had a few more. I'll go over more later because I've had a lot of it, but I know what causes mine, and it's not a demonic being for the most part. I think that there were a couple times where there was an evil entity in my room or around me because I was in my state of sleep, just having to say, knowing I had to call out the name of God to fight this thing off was my only recourse to get rid of it before when I could finally say it, I could speak. I woke up with a complete dry mouth. I didn't have any saliva left. I was burning up in heat. I was dripping sweat. And I usually when I have my sleep paralysis stuff, I usually can tell when it's coming on now, and I can usually reverse it before it becomes something even more creepy, like the chicken thing, which was actually mortifying. Because imagine you're walking and you know that jolt of when you trip, but you're laying in bed.
Yeah, I've had it.
Which is nightmarish. Well, so you've had a similar thing. Well, there's a scientific explanation to sleep paralysis that can explain away all of this. And science says sleep paralysis usually occurs one or two times during the night while you're sleeping. It's called hypnagogic, or the predominant sleep is the first one. And if it happens when you're waking up, okay, so wait, if you're falling asleep, it's called the hypnagogic. See, I couldn't remember last time we talked about the hypnagogic.
That's the point where, because I've heard people, when I'm in that state, I think I've heard people, scream. I've heard people scream.
Yeah, exactly.
Just random things like that when I'm just like, what the fuck?
And there's a reason for this. And so hypnagogic is God dang it.
I sure hope it wasn't my dream, because
Pre-dormital sleep,
like I have,
hypnagogic,
I've ignored murder.
and that's when you're falling asleep. And if it happens when you're waking up, it's the hypnopompic, or the post-dormitable sleep. And I swear to God, I need to learn to speak again. Now, what happens with the hypnagogic? Well, as you fall asleep, your body slowly relaxes. You usually become less aware, so you don't notice the shift. So as you're transitioning from being awake into sleep, because your body needs that time to sleep and relax and regenerate itself. Well, if you become aware in some way, or you notice that you become aware, then you can't move or speak, and that's the difference there. So when you're falling asleep and you notice that you haven't quite lost that consciousness.
I've never had that
in between. I have it all the time. That's what I usually happens.
I think I've been like that, like just like maybe less than an inch from it, but
it usually happens when I'm super fucking exhausted.
I don't know what it is. Like if I see anything, like I'm always able to snap out of it. I've never not been able to snap out of whatever it is that I might see.
Okay, so for
if my brain's playing tricks on me, my body automatically reacts. I've never not reacted.
Well, so for the hypnopompic, your body cycles between REM and NREM. So NREM is non-rapid eye movement.
Yeah.
And REM is, of course, rapid eye movement, not just Michael Twyfer's band. And it starts first. NREM starts first. How is REM an obscure reference?
How many of these kids were born in the 90s?
Shiny, happy people.
Literally, how many people were alive during the 90s that are going to watch this?
Stand in the place where you live. Everyone knows who REM is.
It's the end of the world. I know who REM is. It's the end of the world,
as we know it. But not the end of REM. Or our conversation on night terrors. Or sleep paralysis. Anyhow, so...
Aren't night terrors and sleep paralysis different things?
No, it's similar. It has a similar effect. I think there's a difference between night terrors, but I think it's a correlation. I think they can be both considered the same.
So let's tie this in with shadow people real quick.
That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to do the scientific part of it first, and we'll tie it back into shadow people. I already tied into shadow people. People see shadow people when they're having night terrors a lot, or sleep paralysis.
Anything.
Keep saying night terrors.
I think it's
it could be, but normally and often it's either shadow people lately or aliens. That's what people see lately.
What if they see the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
Then I would just eat it.
Eat your nightmares, kids.
Eat your nightmares.
Eat your nightmares.
Well, that might not be a good idea. You might wake up and not have a pillow. So, anyway,
Don't munch on your pillow.
NREM starts first and takes up to 75% of your overall sleep time. And during NREM, your body relaxes and restores. When NREM ends, you shift into REM. Your eyes move quick and your dreams occur. But your body remains relaxed. Your muscles are basically turned off. If you become aware before the REM is finished, you may notice that you can't move or speak. That's the hypnopompic state. Now, that said, it's a pretty mortifying thing to wake up or be partially awake for any weird thing happening. Now, this happens a lot when you lay on your back, when you use drugs, when you haven't slept enough, when you're overworked, when you're super exhausted. And any of those things can happen. So substance abuse can cause it, but usually I find if I lay on my back, I will notice that I am slipping during the hypnagogic state. I'll notice that I'm slipping into sleep paralysis, and I'll be able to stop it from happening.
What would be worse, sleep paralysis on your stomach or on your back?
You don't get it on your stomach.
Oh, you never.
No, it makes me wonder too, because babies, you're supposed to lay them on their back to sleep.
Are you?
You're supposed to lay them on their back to sleep.
I'm glad I'm not a parent yet, because my baby wouldn't.
Good God. And even when we brought...
You wouldn't have made it past the hypnopompic.
When you bring kids home from the hospital, they usually give them a little, the first little outfit they wear says back to sleep on the front. So
this side up.
This side up.
Face this side.
For sure.
Hold on.
Because that's what
I want one of those, but I want on the butt of the baby to say face side towards enemy.
Alright guys, so there's also a really cool documentary on Netflix called The Nightmare that goes into this further. Now a lot of people break out of these sleep paralyses by calling on usually the name of God or the highest being they believe in, and that's what gets them out of it. Now what I think is happening, and I'm pretty sure I read this somewhere as well, is for a lot of people, not everybody, because who knows? You could be visited by demons in the night. There could be a demon right behind you as you listen to this.
Yeah, right now. I mean,
right now.
We could be pissing it off by you listening to it.
I would poke it with a stick if I was there.
Just stab it in the eye a little bit.
You know what? He's probably big and fangy. He's probably breathing right on your neck right now. You could probably feel it. I bet the back of your hairs or the neck hairs are standing up and you're getting goosebumps because you know he's watching you. I think shadow peoples are a spiritual entity of some fashion. I wouldn't say they're demonic per se.
Here's what I think. Okay, here's what I actually think. I think it's like when you see them, they're mostly considered, when people say shadow people, they don't realize that the majority of them are not seen as a form of a person. They're seen as an amorphous blob kind of thing.
Most of them are in a very human shape.
So,
all the ones I've seen, I could see movement though, like not just a blob. Like I could see limbs moving and shit.
The ones I have heard of, they're generally considered a mass. They are a black mass of some sort. Well, here's what they could be. They could be something akin to like a tulpa. The idea that it exists, like the Hat Man, for instance. People know about it. People have heard the story, so now they see the Hat Man. Well, you're asleep. Your fear isn't shadow people. Your fear isn't ghosts. So what do you see? You see aliens. You see hags. Back in the days when hags were the big evil. Maybe they're a thought form kind of thing, like a tulpa. They take on whatever you're afraid of when you're in a state. So it's a real
thing that you're seeing. But we're talking about you're talking about sleep paralysis again. I'm talking about things.
Well, no, I'm not just talking about not just talking about sleep paralysis. I'm talking about any time. So whatever you're afraid of. So
I'm not afraid of my shadow.
Well, no, I mean you wouldn't.
Peter Pan, maybe,
but the thing is, most people like people don't realize is you're not when you go out at night, you're not really afraid of monsters. What you're afraid of is other people. Your first thought is,
you're afraid of the unknown.
Exactly.
You're not afraid of other people.
But
what you're afraid of is the unknown.
But
when your fight or flight kicks in,
the majority of our fears stem from other people.
I don't think so, dude.
Fear from a parent, fear from a friend, fear from an enemy. The majority of things that you learn to fear early on aren't monsters; they're people.
Yeah, I'm not scared of people at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But the thing is when you're not necessarily afraid of something that's supernatural, it's going to take the quickest thing that'll make you think twice. That'll make you double look.
Dude, I chased a fucking shoplifter down in a store I was in because I saw him steal a half gallon of booze. And I knew while I was doing it, about halfway through, that this guy might have a weapon. He could actually shoot me or stab me. But I was still chasing him because I watched him do it. He wasn't getting away.
The thing I'm saying is simple.
I'm scared of shadow
is
people
that
because
they could be a thought form of sorts. They could, for instance, take on the image of what you not that you're afraid of, but what you subconsciously don't want to see at the time.
I know. We need to do a whole episode on thought forms because I don't understand.
What if shadow people are something like a tulpa? They take on whatever you're afraid of. So, like, we're afraid of like the
you're afraid of deer?
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
So you were afraid of deer.
Well, it's a really weird thing to see.
Okay, but here's the deal. That would mean that two people are having the same exact fear at the same time if they're seeing this. Or one person is maybe pushing out more energy. But you see it at different times. I'm not scared of shadow
I think you might be right about the energy thing. It just chooses the person that they can scare the most.
I don't know, man, because
when you saw your shadow people, are you really afraid? Or are you just thinking, wow, that's interesting?
Well, I mean, it raises the regular... It's not fear, it's the normal instinct of danger, the heightened sense of awareness.
Exactly. That's all it is you just become aware. You became more aware, but you're not afraid. You're like, okay, I got to handle a situation.
I became cautious.
But you've got to handle a situation, whereas the person next to you might feel fear, so the thing that it takes on that person's form instead, because it's like, I'm going to scare this person.
I don't know, some of the people that I've been with, like, when we experienced it, neither of us were scared of it. You know, so maybe
it was just trying really fucking hard.
Why wouldn't it be a fucking shark? I'm mortified of fucking sharks.
Okay,
I stay out of the fucking ocean.
Let me explain
sharks.
Something to you.
It's the only thing I'm scared of in the world is sharks.
Hold on there, Skippy.
Land shark.
Are you gonna see a fucking? What are you gonna think if you see a shark coming down a fucking hallway? A dark shark. You're gonna think, wait, that's fucking weird.
Who is it? Girl Scout cookies. You're not the Girl Scouts. You're the land shark.
Candy Grab Morongo.
Girl Scout cookies? No, you're the land shark. I'm not. Dude, it could have. The thing is, a shark. Come on, man. They eat people and they make babies. They eat everything and they make baby sharks. That's all they do.
It's trying to be as realistic as possible is what my opinion is. Is that it would try to be something you could see, which means your heightened sense will be like, okay, well,
so you think it doesn't have an energy to have a better form than just black?
No. But the thing is that think about it. Like I said, if you
trying to say that I'm just scared of black people? I think you're perpetuating hate.
Peasants. Silence, peasants. What I'm saying is, if you see a shark floating down, you're going to double take and be like, okay, that's not there. And maybe it loses its energy before it can act. So it's going to choose something that you are going to double think. You're going to want to look for. You're going to put energy towards it.
Dude, here's the thing. Like, I've seen these things at a glance, like not just at a glance. Like I've seen them at a glance, and then I've seen them directly and watched them for periods of time, even when I was alone. And I'm not scared of it. I'm not trying to give it energy. I'm just treating it like it could be any other guy or person there. It could be just anything. You know what I mean? It's the same way, like, if you're walking down the street alone at night, usually, if you see someone walking that looks like they could be in some, you're profiling because you want to stay alive.
Yeah, well, you're going to be paying attention.
Yeah, well, some people don't. That's a fucking problem.
Yeah, well, people need to watch. I mean,
like I said, I've been doing martial arts for a long time, and you learn to stay. The best self-defense is to stay the fuck out of situations where you have to defend yourself.
Was it leading on to temptation? Leading on to getting your ass.
Anyway, so Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't say they're.
Okay. So Jay wants us to do like going into the woods. He wants us to go do like tour haunted buildings, things like that. I never want to be anywhere near these fucking places.
Man.
So I'm literally gonna make him take probably our other brother or someone else to go with him because I refuse to do these things because I'm not putting myself in harm's way.
No, I tell you what, right
just
now,
because I want to throw the fucking dice that it's
I'm
not
taking
real.
the other brother. If there's bad energy, it comes from me.
Well, here's the thing: it's exactly like without a paddle taught me. I don't have to outrun the bear. I have to outrun you.
I was saying that before that movie. Speaking of obscure references, by the way,
I love that movie. I'm a
did
huge
too,
Seth
but
Green fan.
still,
Huge Seth Green fan.
I was saying that long before that movie came out.
But you know what? The thing is like it's like anything. That's why when you go hunting, you bring a gun because you're not going to shoot the thing that's going to try to kill you or your friend. You're going to shoot your friend in the knee and run.
No,
that's
go hunting.
what you do.
You take a gun when you go hunting for food, you twat.
Just in case you need to get out of there, just pop your friend in the fucking knee.
When we go look for Bigfoot, I'm taking my 30-30 because it will drop anything in North America.
And I'm going to be holding it the whole time.
No, you're not touching it because I don't trust you.
Now, I don't want
to build Cheney moment. Oh. That reminds me of that guy that accidentally shot himself trying to get up into his hunting tree, tree stand.
Climb up here. I'm just going to put my fucking finger on the trigger.
No, the dude was climbing up and his gun misfired. He bumped it and it fucking fired in and opened up his guts and his guts fell out. He put his guts in his pocket, walked 10 miles back to his truck, and drove the next hour and a half to the hospital to get him sewn back in. Now that's a guy you don't want to pick a fucking fight with.
Fun fact of the day. Super glue was designed for exactly that purpose during World War. I think it was World War One. A medic design, or was it Vietnam?
I think it was Vietnam.
It was created by a medic because he couldn't sew people up on the go, so he needed something quick. So he invented super glue on the fly.
Now the difference is though,
gut.
if you go to the hospital, they'll give you what's called Dermabond. It's a little less painful to use.
Oh yeah, that shit must have
I've used both, and honestly, I just use the super glue because doctors just want to give you stitches.
Yeah, that's all they want is stitches.
They want to give you stitches.
Stitching bastards.
Stitches.
They have an obsession with what's that movie, The Human Centipede.
I don't think
they fantasize about stitching.
All right, so we're gonna bring this back. All right,
shadow people.
The next time is the next thing we're talking about is something a little different. So sometimes when you're around or dealing with younger folk, you have that Eric Cartman pretending to be Edward James Olmos, mindset of how do I help these kids? Well, we're going to talk about kids you don't want to help at all. You don't want to encounter these kids.
I think we still have stuff to go. I mean, we can.
We're talking about it.
We got shadow people. Why don't we make them wait? Why don't we make them wait for this next topic?
So we're gonna do the next topic on the next episode.
Yeah, I mean,
let's talk about
we've got
people.
So much to go.
Holy God, we've been going for 40 plus
minutes, and we still have more material. And the thing is we're bantering now. It's fun. We've gone past the facts, and now we can talk about some stories. Like, do you have any stories?
The facts. I just give stories.
Give more, bitch.
All right. A, don't call me that. And B, you smell like apple fritters.
Yeah,
then sat in a dumpster in a Chinese restaurant for 2 months.
I've got nothing for that one, so you win.
Yeah, I know. Anyhow, all right, so shit, man, it's hard to I've seen enough of them where it's hard to tie it down. I've seen them when I'm walking around at night, when I worked at the bars. I've seen them at the building I used to live at there, the church that I was part of. Saw them there a lot, so it's hard to have one.
Why would the church have shadow people though? Do you think it's because the people
were
just
I told you when it was empty. Dude, I had a lot of weird. I had experiences in that church that weren't even shadow or straight up demonic.
If you think it's demonic, then you would say that probably someone opened something somewhere.
Well, no, I told you about the thing with the baptismal with the freaking candles and stuff.
So you're pretty sure that was probably somebody doing something they shouldn't have been.
We had to go underneath. Now, this church is so huge; it has basically a labyrinth underneath it of crawl space. So the way the church is structured.
Fuck that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, somebody.
Fuck that directly.
Someone fucking directly had to go under there and check all the wiring, and that someone happened to be me. I mean, I had before I knew I was going to go up there the next day, and I didn't think anything about it until this happened. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go into there. I'll check the plumbing and the wiring. No big deal. Whatever. Not even a problem. I went to sleep that night before not even having ever thought that something bad had happened, and I had the most horrific nightmare about me going under there, and I had never been under there yet, and I had crawled through, and I just had bad experiences the entire time, and I had crawled to this place, and this isn't a dream, where I had to go over where the altar, the platform was. It's non-denominational. Well, it was denominational, but I'm not going to talk about the denomination. They call it a platform, where the person preaches from and the band is. And there's like this, I could see in this dream, this wall, and I had to climb over it, and the space was very small to get over, to get behind and underneath the platform. And I had to get under there to check all the wiring, and to check all the musical inputs and stuff, because it was all wired directly into the platform. And I had to check all that stuff, and look for all sorts of problems. And I had never been under there. And as soon as I got under there, everything was just pitch black around me. Couldn't see anything. Flashlight died, then my dream again, and I could just sense evil. And I woke up in a cold sweat, and I couldn't hardly breathe. I wasn't even sleeping on my back. This wasn't like a, sleep paralysis situation. This was a mortifying nightmare. And I don't get those very often. Usually if I have a bad nightmare, I can wake up from it and shake it off, and I'll have a bead of sweat. I was pouring sweat.
Well, it's probably because those worst. I think one of the worst nightmares you can have is the ones that nothing's happening, but it's just these sensations that are just ruling your system. You can't fight.
Well, I'm going there the next day, and I, again, had never been under there, and I'm following literally the exact same path.
Oh, great.
And like visually, everything I was seeing was something had happened in the dream. Everything. And there were these little wall spaces you had to go through. There was like a maze. There was no like charted path.
Now, were you walking on your hands and knees?
No, hands and knees, dude. Sometimes crawling on my stomach because there was just a dirt floor and some of the parts weren't totally even. And over time, things sit, dirt builds up, dirt moves around, especially in this area where there's a lot of bad storms and rain and weather.
Yeah.
And we got to one point where there we were in the center where it finally opened up, and we really had to. And it was me and one other guy. In the dream, it was just me, but it was me and one other guy, and there's some other people in other parts underneath there trying to figure stuff out and how to get through, because no one had any idea how to get to where we needed to be. So we had to map this all out. So that was me, mapping all this crap out and having to go and check it because I had a background in this stuff, in electrical stuff, and plumbing. So I'm going underneath.
The one time you didn't want a background something.
Dude, pulling around, and then I turn a corner to where I think the platform is, and what the fuck do I see in front of me? A wall.
Barney?
A wall. A wall with a little space to get over. And I could tell it was a platform because I could see. It was a wall from my dreams. Even had cracks that I saw in my dreams.
That's fucking.
This wasn't deja vu. This is something I had seen, and it was embedded in my mind. And that's how I even found the damn place. Not knowing where I was going. I knew where I was going. And I knew I had to get under there and check it because we had an inspection coming up and some other shit. And I had to get up there and do it. Had my flashlight. It's pitch black, guys. There's no light coming in anywhere. So it's just flashlight. And the other guy behind me, I'm like, dude, I gotta tell you something. Hey, buddy.
This is one of those moments. You're about to shit yourself.
This happened to me last night in a dream. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I literally dreamed this, but I was alone, and I climbed over that exact wall, and none of us had been under there. We all knew it. And I said I climbed over this exact wall, and when I got over there, the flashlight, I couldn't see the flashlight, everything turned pitch. I was consumed by darkness and evil. And I woke up in a cold sweat, in a terrible sweat, cold sweat, but pouring sweat, mortified. And it felt like I was on fire. It was insane. All these feelings at one time. And he's like, well, do you want me to go over the wall?
Yeah!
And I looked at him.
Go!
And I looked at him like, nah, I got this. And I did. I went over the wall, and as soon as I got to the wall, I touched the wall, and I felt just, the wall wasn't cold. It was hot. Not burning hot, but hot to the touch.
Electrical?
No, it was cement. It's just a big slab of cement. There's no electrical touching it.
Maybe it was electrically cemented.
No. This was just the wall that was, it was, okay, so everything else around us was freezing cold, because we're underground. We're in Northern California during the winter.
Did you see anything down there while you were doing that?
There was other things that happened, but later on. So I get to the wall, I touch it, and it's hot. And I'm like, man, I have to get this done. So I crawled over the damn wall, and every hair, I'm getting like, it's happening.
It's one of those fucking memories you don't
like. Rememberies?
Remembery!
So anyway, so I get over the wall, and
new word.
As soon as I get over it, I felt a presence there, but nothing was black around me. I just felt an ominous presence around me. And
it's like, hey, fucker, I warned you to not come here. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, everything checked out. I think I had to replace like 1 or 2 boxes for power that were underneath or something, but that wasn't a big deal. But we left there, and got out of there and went to the other side of the building, which was even, because I didn't dream about that. It took us like 5 hours to find how to get to the other side of the building. Because it was a maze. We get under there, and there's a mummified cat. I'm not talking like the cat was like I've done construction and stuff, and we remove bathtubs, and the heat mummifies the cat when they get trapped up underneath where your water comes in.
It just stays.
That happens pretty commonly in some of these outlying areas. Well, this was a mummified cat in the middle of the place, but wrapped and stuff. Mummified by being wrapped. Yeah.
Like literally mummified.
Someone literally mummified the fucking cat.
Yeah, good.
And shoved it in there and got it in there somehow. And there's no other way to get under there. There's no external
outlying thing?
No, there was no external part of this side of the building that you can get under and do it. They had to have got through where we got through, which is a crawl space hole in a bathroom inside the church.
Fucking A.
Yeah, so I had a lot of weird experiences happen there. But tons of shadow figures, a lot of other weird stuff like that as well. Including a floor eating me.
The floor ate you.
Well, it tried to.
Quicksand?
I know it sounds crazy, but it was
This is just a little
it's
crazy.
a whole other story. I could probably do a good segment of
just
this show.
on this church.
Just on things that happened in this building. Yeah. And I mean nothing against the people in the church. They meant their best, but the kind of people they attracted were not the most even-minded people all the time. I wasn't even-minded back then either. I had a lot of issues, but not like psychotic or serious bad emotional issues. I got involved for other reasons. But those are the kind of people that showed up, which I guess is what church is about, is making yourself better. And it did help me.
Light for the lost, right?
It helped me. I mean, it did. It definitely changed the path I was on and put me on something better, for sure. And taught me a lot about the supernatural.
See, the thing is people keep asking, if we ask me, like, what's your stories? What's your creepy stories? I got none.
Okay, I have a theory about that too, because I've heard it. And I've heard people say this. If you think you haven't had a creepy story or a ghost encounter or something, ask the person like 3 times. And by the 3rd time, they'll usually realize, but there was this one thing that I remember.
I have interesting stories that might have been like.
Well, you just said one about you having the scratch marks.
There could be interesting stories, but the thing is like people like asking like, what happened? Did you go into haunted buildings? No, because I don't go into haunted buildings.
I do.
I don't go pursuing this shit.
I do.
I don't have experience because I don't go pursuing these experiences. I don't go tempting something that I can't fight, I can't do anything about. I'm not going to go tempt this fun. It's like people who play with the Ouija board. You can't stop these shadow people. You can't fight them. You can't do anything with them. You're inviting them in. Why? What possibly stupid thought do you have in your head? Oh, this is going to be great. And what's the outcome? Oh, maybe nothing happens. But maybe we get a fun possessing demon that can kill us all in our sleep. Yay! What the fuck is that about? Like, how stupid do you have to be? That's like saying, you know what? Let's play Russian roulette with a 9mm, okay? That's what you're basically saying. Wait, there is no good outcome theoretically.
There are 9mm revolvers.
Oh my god, you know what I meant. Like a fucking Beretta 9mm non.
There are. Never mind.
A not revolver. I don't know. When it's not a revolver, what's it called? Just a standard handgun?
Semi-automatic handgun.
Let's play Russian roulette with a semi-automatic then. How about that? It's just stupid. It's like, what? There is no good outcome from fucking with things like this. Like, I think there's a giant creature in the woods. Let's go poke it with a fucking stick. Like, we're not. What are you guys? What's the guy? That guy, Steve, whatever. The dude who got killed by a stingray because he was
Steve Irwin
fucking with things he shouldn't have been fucking with. And then he's out like, you're gonna go be Steve Irwin of the demon world? Like, what are you thinking? What is the good outcome of this? Like, Satanists. What's the good outcome? The thing wants to kill you and burn you in eternal hell. Let's go with that. Because fuck the thing that's saying you can come and be happy with me. Let's go burn.
Most Satanists say, I guess now, they don't even believe in all of that.
Well, so I understand that I know there's a difference. Like, there's a difference. Satanists, a lot nowadays, they're what called rational thinkers. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in the devil. But what they believe in is the worship of self and living your life to the fullest kind of thing. And while I can respect some of those ideals, but taking the image or taking the belief from a different religion and putting it in yours,
the word Satan, the word Satan in the Bible just means tempter.
It's
so hypothetically, I'm not saying Satan is good. Satan is your friend. I'm not saying that. To quote the Burbs, but yeah, no, I'm just saying that like,
the thing is, right now. We're not pushing. Here's the thing. We're not.
I had this whole story, this whole episode outlined.
Here's the big thing: is I'm agnostic. I don't believe in religion. I believe there's a divine being, but I'm not religious, and I'm not going to push a religion on anyone. And I'm never going to push that anything is wrong. I'm not going to push and say, well, Satanism is wrong. I'm not going to push and say, well, Buddhism is wrong. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to tell you is...
I'll say Jared Fogel's wrong.
He was fucking wrong.
You're eating a Subway sandwich.
Oh, God.
We're going to get sued by Subway.
Oh, no.
Eat fresh.
Eat fresh. Maybe too fresh. Like Comet Pizza Fresh.
No. We're not going to talk about Pizzagate. I promise you guys, we will not talk about Pizzagate. Find it on your own. It's horrendous and disgusting, and I'm not going to fucking talk about
There
that
are things
shit.
in this world that are real that are worse than the things you are trying to
We'll talk
to
about
keep
true
around.
crime, but we're not going to fucking do that. No.
There's true crime that even
stomach
we
that
don't want to
bullshit.
touch. It makes us sick to our stomach to think of. But anyway, so the point is that what I'm saying is, if
Good
you are
transition.
going to say to yourself, I'm going to go play with this Ouija board because A, nothing could happen. B, a demon shows up and possesses my friend and then starts trying to kill people. C, shit starts flying around and I have to move. And then it could potentially just keep following you. Or it could fuck with the family that you just left behind. There is no positive outcome to this game. What is the fucking point of doing
Well,
that?
you know where all the scary stories from the Ouija board started?
A movie?
The Exorcist.
Oh, you know, that was an interesting
It was a kids game forever. It was just kids played it everywhere, and nobody had a weird story until The Exorcist came out.
You know what's funny is
You know, The
yeah.
Exorcist was actually based on a boy, not a girl. It actually happened. It was a real thing.
Oh yeah, and he's still alive, isn't he? He works
No.
with the Vatican, I thought.
I don't think so. No,
he's still alive.
No,
He's an old man now.
Well, he would have to be an old man.
They
This happened in
don't-
the fucking
The thing is
20s.
no one actually knows who he was because they kept it a secret. The church didn't want people to find out. They didn't want people to come tormenting him. Essentially, they kept it a secret as best they could.
Well, I'm sure they did. I mean, I don't.
The house still stands where it happened, and you know
Well,
what's
sure it
interesting? Did you know? Fun fact:
Well, the
a lot of
hospital he
people,
was in. It didn't happen in a house. It happened in a hospital. And
a
then
lot
there's
of
still that
people
floor of
who
the
was
hospital
involved with the
shut
movie
down.
The Exorcism wound up getting hurt. Like
I've
one
heard-
guy got pushed down a stairwell.
That's like when people talk about the whole the Passion and Jim Caviezel getting electrocuted by lightning. It's a little.
Well, no, I mean this is the difference in this is documented. Like the guy was filming, and he says he fell down when the preacher falls down the stairwell in the movie. The guy who was originally doing it, he felt something come up behind him, lift him, and throw him down the stairs. And people, I guess, saw this instance. And he says somebody shoved me. He was in the hospital.
Look at all the people that
He
died
got
after. Look at all the people that died after making Poltergeist.
You know a less funny story that's actually true?
I don't know if I want to hear a less funny story. We're going to go to kind of a dark
This is a really true story that has
Jared
nothing.
Fogle,
Okay,
Pizzagate,
I'm going to break away from
demonic movies, Ouija
We're,
boards.
we're in our last 3 minutes. I'm going to break away from this
We
particular
can keep
line.
going. We don't have to go 3 more minutes. We can keep going.
Well, no, because I want to keep it. I'm going to keep as much more material later, so you guys can have good shows. And
Yeah,
you can
but
have
we're
good
just
stuff.
bantering. You said.
Oh, sure. But the thing is there's this movie that so there's this movie that John Wayne played in that they say kills him, okay, because he died. He died of cancer. Well, this movie he played Kublai Khan, I believe, or Genghis Khan, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was done literally in the middle of a nuclear testing site.
Well, yeah, that would give you cancer.
They didn't know about this shit back then, and the entire crew, I think 70 people out of the crew got
dude,
cancer.
I'm telling you right now.
Shortly after that
by the
shit.
time John Wayne made any movies, we were quite aware of radiation poisoning.
Well, I don't know if they didn't know at the time, but I don't think they were in the States when they made it, so no one cared. Like, they thought it was
didn't know about the
They
area
had
they were
images.
filming in?
They had images of the guys holding it and the fucking thing pinging all the way to the right, and they were laughing about
The
it.
Geiger counter?
Yeah, the Geiger counter's fucking pinging completely.
Okay, guys,
and they were
so for
laughing
reference,
about it.
if you are holding a Geiger counter and it's really freaking out, get the fuck out of there. Because
Move.
you're gonna die.
Yeah, 70.
Maybe not right
if
away,
you're
but
making
it's gonna suck.
For future blockbuster, people who are going to make future blockbusters be directors, if it's doing that, 70% of your people are going to get cancer, which they did. I think it was 70 people on the crew got cancer shortly after this.
Dude, everybody has cancer now.
It was like 70 people got cancer.
Why are
like,
you
shortly
laughing about
after that.
70 people getting cancer?
And then I think several people actually died.
You're an asshole.
Not only was the movie itself cancerous,
You're being a twat
but it was
waffle.
literally radioactive. Like, that's how bad that movie was. It killed people. Like, that's
Like that song? Radioactive?
Fucking John Wayne playing Genghis Khan.
That
Who thought of that
radioactive
shit?
song? That would be pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
You know, the only reason I didn't like that song for a long time
I
is
think
because
you're thinking of the
literally had
wrong radioactive song.
Imagine Dragon?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about the one that Jimmy Page was in that band that was just terrible for a minute after Led Zeppelin.
I don't know what Jimmy Page did after Led Zeppelin.
I think it was called Radioactive. It was just really, really awful.
I'm pretty sure I just insulted a bunch of people with cancer.
I'm pretty sure you fucking did, including some of our listeners that I know that have had and struggled through cancer.
You know, I'm not trying to say it's a okay?
No, if you apologize,
I'm just
you're
saying-
being a douchebag. You made a joke.
I'm not
go
going
with
to
it.
apologize. I wasn't insulting people with cancer. What I'm saying is that someone made a stupid fucking decision. And they must have known a little bit about radiation poisoning at that point in time.
They do quite a bit.
And they were laughing about it, holding these fucking Geiger counters.
Are you sure that's a thing,
I'm laughing
dude?
about
Are you sure that really happened? Like...
That is everything I've heard about the myth of this movie. That is literally everything I've heard about it.
There is the caveat with the word myth of this movie.
All right, I'll give you the caveat that I could be. It could just be
it's like I heard
telltale kind of thing.
Like Gilbert, that guy. He would always some guy we know. He would always tell these bullshit stories. One of them being that John Wayne had 30 or 40 pounds of red meat in his stomach when he died.
Oh God.
Yeah, he was one of those, and he would tell the same 15 stories for fucking 20 years. Oh God, he was like. Talking to him, if you talk to him, he's the kind of guy that if you talk to him and then like 10 years later talk to him again, you'd feel like you were having deja fucking vu. Because he always wore the same fucking kind of shirt, did his hair the exact same way, still does. He still hasn't. And he fucking told the exact same stories over and over again, eternally. It's just, and he still does it. And it's just, Yeah. So talk about going off the rabbit trail.
Yeah, we trailed, but you know what? I thought that people would a little bit of an easement to hear when people acted really stupid at some point in time.
Yeah, maybe. All right, guys. So we were going to talk about this other topic, and then Jack decided he wanted to talk about fuck all. So we're going to do the next segment on the next episode.
I thought a nice easement out where we weren't talking about something so heavy on the exit.
And then we went even heavier. Then we got even worse.
Everybody got cancer! Yeah. No, that's not good.
It's like Oprah of cancer.
You get cancer. You get cancer. Everybody gets cancer.
Melanoma. God. Oh, man.
Don't hate us.
Don't hate us overtly.
We will not probably wind up talking about cancer in the future.
Keep your hate to yourself. Don't hate us overtly. Follow us, like us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yep.
Hold on, the cigar's kicking in.
Hiccups. Is it? All right. Finish dying so we can have an outro here.
Anyhow, all right, guys. So yeah, follow us on YouTube, please. Follow us on Facebook at Vanishing Gates Podcast on the Facebook page, or you could friend us at the Vanishing Gates personal profile because I didn't realize I could make just a web page separately. Till later. And email us at vanishinggates@gmail.com with your stories of any kind or suggestions or things you'd like to hear talk about. And again, if you have experienced any of this stuff, we really, really want to know about it. And if you're local and you're not a total wombat, you can come and maybe be a guest and talk about your experience.
Yeah, we'd definitely like to hear a story.
That'd be cool. And hey, we're considering maybe doing a shorter midweek story or through the week, so you're not just getting one episode a week.
I want to do a movie review, but he refuses. He says we have to do a story.
I'm not doing a movie review because I'm not paying ticket money for something I'm already paying for out of pocket.
I want to do classic movies so we can show them good movies.
So you want to review something that's been reviewed about 1,000 times?
I doubt people have reviewed. I got
a review for you right now. Manos: The Hands of Fate.
Oh God, I want my soul.
I've seen it without Mystery Science Theater
3000.
I've seen it 4 or 5 times. I know 3 people who have watched that movie without Mystery Science Theater.
I would rather play with an Ouija board in the Amityville Horror House.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's.
Hi, my name is Orgo. I look over the podcast while the master is away. Yeah, it's fucking horrible. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
I thought I was gonna die after that shit, dude.
I died inside.
I felt my soul ripping.
I died
away.
inside. I died inside.
I can't believe you watched it without the MST3K.
Many times.
Man, that's dangerous.
I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times.
That movie needs to be weaponized against our enemies.
It is weaponized. Every once in a while, I'll get this weird bug, and I'll be like, because I have the DVD which has both the MST3K version and the non-version with just the movie.
Oh,
and it's always after I've made some already bad decisions, like I'm alone because no one in my house is there, and they're out of town for some reason. I'm alone by myself, and my only friend is Jameson. Because whiskey is the devil.
And that's when life takes a turn that you can't come back from.
Yeah, like Manos: The Hands of Fate.
Yeah, that's a turn you can't come back from.
Hello, my name is Orgo. I look over the place while the master is away.
And with that,
the master doesn't like
I think
children.
we can call this an episode, and we will probably... What are we going to talk about next episode?
No, we're not going to go into that, because I had a good thing to say for that movement. I had a whole thing, spiel I was starting to do. I actually started it, and then you stopped me from doing it.
I want to savor a good episode, and I felt we were on a good path.
Remember back to when I started saying the thing about you want to be like Cartman, pretending to be Edward James Olmos, and how do I reach these kids? Okay, that's a hint for the next episode. These are kids you don't want to reach or encounter.
Yeah, I would have to definitely.
That's what you get. Cliffhanger. Not the Stallone cliffhanger.
Maybe.
A good cliffhanger.
Yeah. Wait, what is that movie?
I kind of liked it. He did kill someone with a stalagmite.
All right, I think we should end this now.
We should end it. All right, guys. This is Jay.
This is Jack.
And we're going to take off, so bye.
Outro music cued.